Welcome back, it's Desert Rose here, and we're going to read the last of Genesis. Thank you, Father, for placing this in front of whoever needs to hear it. Let's go. Pharaoh's Dreams. 2 years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing by the Nile River. In the dream, 7 cows came out of the river and stood there eating grass. They were healthy, good-looking cows. Then 7 more cows came out of the river and stood on the bank of the river by the healthy cows. But these cows were thin and looked sick. The 7 sick cows ate the 7 healthy cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. Pharaoh went back to sleep and began dreaming again. This time he dreamt that he saw 7 heads of grain growing on one plant. They were healthy and full of grain. Then he saw 7 more heads of grain sprouting, but they were thin and scorched by the hot wind. The 7 heads of grain ate the 7 good heads of grain. Then Pharaoh woke up again and realized that it was only a dream. The next morning, Pharaoh was worried about these dreams, so he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told these men the dreams, but none of them could explain the dreams. Servant tells Pharaoh about Joseph. Then the wise servant remembered Joseph and said to Pharaoh, I remember something that happened to me. You were angry with the baker and me, and you put us in prison. Then one night he and I had a dream. Each dream had a different meaning. There was a young Hebrew man in the prison with us. He was a servant of the commander of guards. We told him our dreams, and he explained them to us. He told us the meaning of each dream, and what he said came true. He said I would be free and have my old job back, and it happened. He also said the baker would die, and it happened. Joseph is called to explain the dreams. So Pharaoh killed Joseph from the prison. The guards quickly got Joseph out of prison. Joseph shaved, put on some clean clothes, and went to see Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream. No one can explain it for me. I heard that you can explain dreams when someone tells you about them. Joseph answered, I cannot, but God can explain the dream for you, Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, In my dream I was standing by the Nile River. 7 cows came out of the river and stood there eating grass. They were healthy, good-looking cows. Then I saw 7 more cows come out of the river after them. But these cows were thin and looked sick. They were the worst cows I'd ever seen in Egypt. The thin, sick cows ate the first healthy cows, but they still looked thin and sick. You couldn't even tell they'd eaten the healthy cows. They looked as thin and sick as they did in the beginning. Then I woke up. In my next dream, I saw 7 heads of grain growing on one plant. They were healthy and full of grain. And then 7 more heads of grain grew after them, but they were thin and scorched by the hot wind. Then the thin heads of grain ate the 7 good heads of grain. I told these dreams to my magicians, but no one could explain the dreams. What do they mean? Joseph explains the dream. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, Both of these dreams have the same meaning. God is telling you what will happen soon. The 7 good cows and the 7 good heads of grain are the 7 good years. Then the 7 thin, sick-looking cows and the 7 thin heads of grain mean that there will be 7 years of hunger in this area. The 7 bad years will come after the 7 good years. God has shown you what will happen soon. He will make these things happen just as I told you. For 7 years there will be plenty of food in Egypt, but then there will be 7 years of hunger. The people will forget how much food there'd been in Egypt before. This famine will ruin the country. It will be so bad that people will forget what it was like to have plenty of food. Pharaoh, you had 2 dreams about the same thing. That means God wanted to show you that he really will make this happen, and he will make it happen soon. So, Pharaoh, you could choose a wise, intelligent man and put him in charge of Egypt. Then you choose other men to collect food from people. During the 7 good years, the people must give 1/5 of all the food they grow. In this way, these men will collect all the food during the 7 good years and store it in cities until it is needed. Pharaoh, this food will be under your control. Then during the 7 years of hunger, there will be food for the country of Egypt, and Egypt will not be destroyed by the famine. This seemed like a very good idea to Pharaoh, and all his officials agreed. Then Pharaoh told him, I don't think we can find anyone better than Joseph to take this job. God's Spirit is in him, making him very wise. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, God showed you these things, so you must be the wisest man. I'll put you in charge of my country, and the people will obey all your commands. I will be the only one more powerful than you. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I now make you governor over all of Egypt. Then the Pharaoh gave his special ring to Joseph. The royal seal was on this ring. Pharaoh also gave Joseph a fine linen robe and a gold chain around his neck. Then he told Joseph to ride in the second chariot. Pharaoh's officials said, Let him be governor over the whole land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh said to him, I am Pharaoh, the king of everyone in Egypt, but no one else in Egypt can lift a hand or move a foot unless you say he can. Then Pharaoh gave Joseph another name, Zephath-Paneh. He also gave Joseph a wife named Asenath. She was the daughter of Potiphar, a priest in the city of On. So Joseph became the governor of the whole country of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he began serving the king of Egypt. He traveled through the country of Egypt. During the 7 good years, the crops in Egypt grew very well. Joseph saved the food in Egypt during the 7 years and stored the food in the cities. In every city he stored grain that grew in fields around the city. Joseph stored so much grain that it was like the sands of the sea. He stored so much grain that it could not be measured. Joseph's wife, Asenath, was the daughter of the Potiphar, the priest in the city of On. Before the first year of hunger came, Joseph and Asenath had 2 sons. Joseph named the first son Manasseh. He gave the name because Joseph said, God made me forget all my hard work and everything back in home in my father's house. Joseph named the second son Ephraim. Joseph gave him his name because he said, I had great troubles, but God has made me successful in everything. The famine begins. For 7 years, people had all the food they needed, but those years ended. Then the 7 years of hunger began. Just as Joseph had said, no food grew anywhere in the countries in that area. But in Egypt, people had plenty to eat because Joseph had stored the grain. The famine began, and people cried to Pharaoh for food. Pharaoh said to the Egyptian people, Go ask Joseph what to do. There was a famine everywhere, so Joseph gave the people grain from the warehouses. He sold the stored grain to the people of Egypt. The famine was so bad in Egypt, but the famine was bad everywhere. So people from the countries around Egypt had to come to Joseph in Egypt to buy grain. The dreams come true. During the famine in Canaan, Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt. So he said to his sons, Why are you sitting here doing nothing? I've heard there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go there and buy grain for us so that we will live and not die. So 10 of Joseph's brothers went to Egypt to buy grain. Jacob did not send Benjamin. Benjamin was Joseph's only full brother. Jacob was afraid that something bad might happen to Benjamin. The famine was very bad in Canaan, so there were many people from Canaan who went to Egypt to buy grain. Among them were the sons of Israel. Joseph was the governor of Egypt at the time. He was the one who checked the sale of grain to people who came to Egypt to buy it. Joseph's brother came in and bowed down before him. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted like he didn't know them. He was rude when he spoke to them. He said, Where do you come from? The brothers answered, We have come from the land of Canaan to buy food. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not know who he was. Joseph remembered the dreams he had dreamed about his brothers. Joseph said to his brothers, You have not come to buy food. You are spies. You have come to learn where we are weak. But the brothers said to him, No, sir, we come as your servants. We have come only to buy food. We are all brothers, and we have the same father. We are honest men. We have only come to buy food. Then Joseph said to them, No, you have come to spy on us. And the brothers said, No, sir, we have come from servants from Canaan. We are all brothers, sons of the same father. There are 12 brothers in our family. Our youngest brother is still at home with our father, and the other brother died a long time ago. But Joseph said to them, No, I can see I am right. You are spies. But I will let you prove that you are telling the truth. In the name of the Pharaoh, I swear that I will not let you go until your younger brother comes here. One of you must go back to get the youngest brother, while the rest of you stay here in prison. Then we can prove whether you are telling the truth or not. If you are not telling the truth, then by Pharaoh I swear that you are spies. Then Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. The troubles began. After 3 days, Joseph said to them, I am the God-fearing man. Do this, and I will let you live. If you are honest men, one of your brothers can stay here in prison, and the others can go and carry grain back to your people. But then you must bring your youngest brother back here to me. Then I will know that you are telling the truth, and you will not have to die. The brothers agreed to this. They said to each other, We are being punished for the bad thing we did to our younger brother Joseph. We saw the trouble he was in. He begged us to save him, but we refused to listen. So now we are in trouble. Then Reuben said to them, I told you not to do anything bad to that boy, but you refused to listen to me. Now we are being punished to his death. Joseph was using an interpreter to talk to his brothers, so the brothers did not know that he understood their language. He heard and understood everything they said, and that made him want to cry. So he turned away and left the room. When he came back, he took one of the brothers, Simon, and tied him up while the others watched. Joseph told the servants to fill the bags with grain. The brothers had given Joseph the money for the grain, but he didn't keep the money, so he put the money back in the bags of grain. Then he gave them what they would need for their trip home. So the brothers put the grain on the donkeys and left. That night the brothers stopped at the place to spend one night. One of the brothers opened the sack to get some grain for his donkey. And there in the sack he saw his money. He said to the other brothers, Look, here is the money I paid for the grain. Someone put the money back in my sack. The brothers were very afraid. They said to one another, What is God doing to us? The brothers report to Jacob. The brothers went back to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. He told them everything that had happened. They said, The governor of the country spoke to us rudely. He thought we were spies. We told him we were honest men, not spies. There were 12 of us brothers from the same father, but one of our brothers is no longer living, and the youngest is still home with our father in Canaan. Then the governor of that country said, Here is a way to prove that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take the grain back to your families. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I will know that you are honest men, and if you are sent from an army to destroy us. If you are telling the truth, I will give your brother back to you. I will give him to you, and you'll be free to buy grain in our country. Then the brothers started taking the grain out of the sacks, and every brother found in his bag of money and sack of the grain. When the brothers and their father saw the money, they were afraid. Jacob said to them, Do you want me to lose all my children? Joseph is gone, Simon is gone, and now you want to take Benjamin away too. But Reuben said to his father, Father, you may kill my 2 sons if I don't bring Benjamin back for you. Trust me, I will bring him back to you. But Jacob said, I will not let Benjamin go with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only son left from my wife Rachel. It would kill me if anything happened to him during the trip to Egypt. You would send me to the grave, a very sad old man. Jacob lets Benjamin go to Egypt. The famine was very bad in that country. The people ate all the grain they had brought from Egypt. When that grain was gone, Jacob said to his sons, Go to Egypt and buy some more grain for us to eat. But Judah said to Jacob, "But the governor of that country warned us. He said, 'If you don't bring your brother back to me, I will refuse to talk to you. If you send Benjamin with us, we will go down and buy grain. But if you refuse to send Benjamin, we will not go.' The man warned us not to come back without him." Israel said, "Why did you tell him you had another brother? Why did you do such a bad thing to me?" The brothers answered, "He asked lots of questions. He wanted to know all about us and our family. He asked if your father is still alive. Do you have another brother at home?" We only answered his questions. We didn't know he would ask us to bring our brother back to him. Then Judah said to his father Israel, "Let Benjamin go with me. I'll take care of him. We have to go to Egypt to get food. If we don't go, we will all die, including our children. I will make sure he is safe. I will be responsible for him. If I don't bring him back, you can blame me forever. If you had to let us go before, we could have already made 2 trips of food." Then their father Israel said, if it is really true, take Benjamin with you, but take some gifts to the governor. Take some things that we have not been able to gather in our land. Take some honey, pistachio nuts, almonds, spices, and myrrh. Take twice as much money with you this time. Take the money that was given to you after you paid last time. Maybe the governor made a mistake. Take Benjamin and go back to the man. I pray that the God All-Powerful will help you when you stand before the governor. I pray that he will let Benjamin and also Simon come back safely. If not, I will again be sad from losing my children." So the brothers took the gifts to give to the governor, and the brothers took twice as much money with them as they took the first time. This time Benjamin went with the brothers to Egypt. The brothers at Joseph's house. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to his servant, "Bring these men to my house, kill an animal and cook it. They will eat with me at noon today." The servant did as he was told. He brought the men into Joseph's house. The brothers were afraid when they were taken to Joseph's house and said, "We have been brought back here because of the money that was put in our sacks the last time. They will use us as proof against us and steal our donkeys and make us slaves." So the brothers went to the servant in charge of Joseph's house. They said, "Sir, I promise this is the truth. The last time we came to buy food. On the way home, we opened our sacks and found our money in every sack. We don't know how it got there, but we brought that money with us to give it back to you. And we have brought more money to pay for the food that we want to buy this time." But the servant answered, "Don't be afraid. Believe me, your God, the God of your father, must have put the money in your sack as a gift. I remember that you paid me for the grain last time." Then the servant brought Simon out of prison. The servant led the men into Joseph's house. He gave them water and washed their feet. He fed their donkeys. The brothers heard that they were going to eat with Joseph, so they worked until noon preparing their gifts. So when Joseph came home, the brothers gave him the gifts they had brought with them. Then they bowed down to the ground in front of him. Joseph asked how they were doing. Then he said, "How is your elderly father you told me about? Is he alive?" The brothers answered, "Yes, sir, our father is still alive," and they bowed down again before Joseph. Then Joseph saw his brother Benjamin. Benjamin and Joseph had the same mother. Joseph said, "Is this your youngest brother that you told me about?" Then Joseph said to Benjamin, "God bless you, my son." Joseph felt a strong desire to show his brother Benjamin that he loved him, but he was about to cry and didn't want his brothers to see him. So he ran into the private room and cried there. Then Joseph washed his face and came out. He regained control of himself and said, "Now it is time to eat." The servants seated Joseph at the table by himself. His brothers were at another table by themselves, and the Egyptians were at the table by themselves. The Egyptians believed that it was wrong for them to eat with Hebrews. Joseph's brothers were seated at the table facing him. The brothers were looking at each other because to their surprise, they had been seated in order from oldest to youngest. The servants were taking food from Joseph's table and bringing it to them. But the servants gave Benjamin 5 times more than the others. The brothers continued to eat and drink with Joseph until they were drunk. Joseph sets a trap. Then Joseph gave the command to his servant. He said, "Fill the men's sack with as much grain as they can carry. Then put each man's money into the sack with the grain. Put the youngest brother's money into the sack too, but also my special silver cup into his sack." So the servant obeyed Joseph. Early next morning, the brothers and their donkeys were sent back to their country. After they left the city, Joseph said to his servant, "Go and follow the men. Stop them and say to them, 'We were good to you. Why have you been so bad to us? Why did you steal my master's silver cup? My master drinks from that cup and uses it to learn secret things. What you did was wrong." So the servant obeyed. He rode out to the brothers and stopped them. The servant said to them what Joseph had said to him to say. But the brothers said to the servant, "Why does the governor say these things? We wouldn't want to do anything like that. We brought back the money and said we found the sacks of four, so surely we wouldn't steal money, silver or gold from the master's house. If you find the silver cup in any of the sacks, let that man die. You can kill him. We will be your slaves." The servant agreed. "I agree, except that only the man who is found to have the cup will be my slave. The others will be free." The trap is sprung. Benjamin is caught. Then every brother quickly opened his sack on the ground. The servants started looking through in the sacks. They started with the oldest brother and ended with the youngest. They found the cup in Benjamin's sack. The brothers were very sad. They tore their clothes and showed their sadness. They put their sacks on the back and the donkeys and went back on the donkeys and went back to the city. When Judah and his brothers went back to Joseph's house, Joseph was still there. The brothers fell to the ground and bowed before him. Joseph said to them, "Why have you done this? Didn't you know that I have a special way of learning secrets? No one is better at this than I am." Judah said, "Sir, there is nothing we can say. There is no way to explain. There is no way to show that we are not guilty. God has judged us guilty for something else we have done. So all of us, even Benjamin, will be your slaves." But Joseph said, "I will not make you all slaves. Only the man who stole my cup will be my slave. You others can go in peace to your father." Judah pleads for Benjamin. Then Judah went to Joseph and said, "Sir, please let me speak plainly with you. Please don't be angry with me. I know that you are like Pharaoh himself. When we were here before, you asked us, 'Do you have a father or a brother?' And we answered you, 'We have a father. He is an old man, and we have a younger brother. Our father loves him because he was born while our father was old. This youngest son's brother is dead. So he is the only son who is left from that mother. Our father loves him very much. Then you said to us, 'Bring that brother to me. I want to see him.' And we said to you, 'That young boy cannot come. He cannot leave his father. If his father loses him, his father will be so sad that he will die.' But you said to us, 'You must bring your youngest brother, or I will not sell you grain again.' So we went back to our father and told him what you said. Later our father said, 'Go back and buy us some food.' We said to our father, 'We cannot go without our youngest son, our youngest brother.' The governor said he will not sell us grain until he says our youngest brother. Then my father said to us, 'You know that my wife Rachel gave me two sons. I let one son go away, and he was killed by a wild animal, and I haven't seen him since. If you take my other son away from me, and something happens to him, I'll be sad enough to die. Now imagine what will happen when we go home without our youngest brother. He is the most important thing in our father's life. Our father will die if he sees that the boy isn't with us, and it will be our fault. We send our father to his grave a very sad man.' I took responsibility for the young boy. I told my father, if I don't bring him back to you, you can blame me for the rest of my life. So now I beg you, please let the boy go back to his brothers, and I will stay and be your slave. I cannot go back to my father if the boy is not with me. I am very afraid of what would happen to my father. Joseph tells who he is. Joseph could not control himself any longer. He cried in front of all the people who were there. Joseph said, "Tell everyone to leave here." So all the people left. Only the brothers were left with Joseph. Then he told them who he was. Joseph continued to cry, and all the Egyptians people in Pharaoh's house heard it. He said to the brothers, "I am the brother Joseph. Is my father doing well?" But the brothers did not answer him because they were confused and afraid. Joseph said to his brothers again, "Come here to me, I beg you, come here." When the brothers went to him, and he said to them, "I am your brother Joseph. I am the one you sold to a slave in Egypt. Now don't be worried. Don't be angry with yourselves for what you did. It was God's plan for me to come here. I am here to save people's lives. This terrible famine has continued for 2 years now, and there'll be 5 more years without planting or harvest. So God sent me here ahead of you so that I can save your people in this country. It was not your fault that I was sent here. It was God's plan. God made me like a father to Pharaoh. I am the governor of all his house and all over Egypt." Israel invited to Egypt. Joseph said, hurry up and go get my father. Tell him his son Joseph sent this message. God made me governor of all of Egypt, so come here to me quickly. Don't wait. You can live near me in the land of Goshen. You and your children and your grandchildren and all your animals are welcome here. I will take care of you during the next 5 years of hunger, so you and your family will not lose everything you own. Surely you can see that I really am Joseph. Even my brother Benjamin knows it is me, your brother, talking to you. So tell my father about the honor I received here in Egypt. Tell him about everything you've seen here. Now hurry. Go bring my father back to me." Then Joseph hugged his brother Benjamin, and they both began crying. Then Joseph cried and kissed all his brothers. After this, the brothers began talking with him. Pharaoh learned that Joseph's brother had come to him. This news spread throughout Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh and his servants were very excited. So Pharaoh told Joseph, "Tell your brothers, take all the food they need and go back to the land of Canaan. Tell them to bring your father and their families back here. I will give the best land in Egypt to live on. And your family can eat the best food we have here. Also, give your brothers some of our best wagons. Tell them to go to Canaan. Bring your father and all the women and children back in the wagons. Don't worry about bringing all their belongings. We can give them the best of Egypt." So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them good wagons just as Pharaoh had promised, and Joseph gave them enough food for their trip. He gave each brother a suit of beautiful clothes, but Benjamin he gave 5 suits of beautiful clothes and 300 pieces of silver. Joseph also sent gifts to his father. He sent 10 donkeys with bags of many good things from Egypt. He sent 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and other food for his father on his trip back. Then Joseph told his brothers to go. While they were leaving, he said to them, "Go straight home and don't fight on the way." So the brothers left for Egypt and went to their father to the land of Canaan. They told him, "Father Joseph is alive, and he is the governor of the whole country of Egypt." The father did not know what to think. At first he didn't believe them, but then they told him everything Joseph had said. Then their father saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to them to bring him back to Egypt, and he became excited and very happy. Israel said, "Now I believe you. My son Joseph is alive. I am going to see him before I die." God assures Israel. So Israel began his trip to Egypt. First he went to Beersheba, where he worshipped God, the God of his father Isaac. He offered sacrifices. During the night God spoke to Israel in a dream and said, "Jacob." Jacob. Israel answered, Here I am. Then God said, I am God, the God of your father. Don't be afraid to go to Egypt. In Egypt I will make you a great nation. I will go to Egypt with you. I will bring you out of Egypt again. You will die there, but Joseph will be with you. His hands will close your eyes when you die. Israel goes to Egypt. Then Jacob left Beersheba and travelled to Egypt. His sons, the sons of Israel, brought their fathers, their wives, all their children to Egypt. They travelled in wagons the Pharaoh had sent. They also had their cattle and everything they owned in the land of Canaan. So Israel went to Egypt with all his children and his family. With them there were sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters. All of the family went with him. The family of Jacob, Israel. These are the names of Israel's sons and family who went to Egypt with him. Reuben was Jacob's first son. Reuben's sons were Hanoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simon's sons were Jamal, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, and Zah. There was also Shaul. Shaul was born from the Canaanite woman. Levi's sons were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Judah's sons were Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. And Onan died while still in Canaan. Perez's sons were Hezron and Hamul. Issachar's sons were Tola, Pua, Job, and Shimron. Zebulun's sons were Seir, Elon, and Jael. Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun were Jacob's sons from his wife Leah. Leah had sons in Padan Aram. She also had a daughter named Dinah. There were all 33 people in his family. Gad's sons were Zephron, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Aradar, and Arali. Asher's sons were Aminah, Ishva, Izvi, Bera, and their sister Sarah. There was also Bera's son, Heber, and Malachel. All these were Jacob's sons from the wife's servant, Zipporah. Zipporah was the maid that Laban had given to his daughter Leah. There were 16 people in his family. Benjamin was also with Jacob. Benjamin was Jacob and Rachel's son. Joseph was also Rachel's son, but he was already in Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Joseph's wife was Asenath, the daughter of the popular, the priest of in the city of On. Benjamin's sons were Bela, Becher, Ashabel, Gera, Nam, Eri, Rosh, Huppim, and Ard. These were the sons of Jacob from his wife Rachel. There were 14 people in this family. Dan's son was Hisham. Naphtali's sons were Jazel, Guni, Jezer, and Shelem. There were sons of Jacob and Bilhah. Bilhah was the maid that Laban had given to his daughter Rachel. There were 7 people in this family. The total number of people of Jacob's direct descendants who went with him to Egypt was 66 people. The wives of Jacob's sons were not counted by this number, so all Joseph had was 2 sons in Egypt. With these 2 grandsons, Jacob's family in Egypt numbered 70 people in all. Israel arrives in Egypt. Jacob sent Judah ahead to speak to Joseph. Judah went to Joseph to the land of Goshen. Then Jacob and his people followed into the land. Joseph learned that his father was coming, so he prepared his chariot and went out to meet his father Israel in Goshen. When Joseph saw his father, he hugged his neck and cried for a long time. Then Israel said to Joseph, Now I can die in peace. I have seen your face and know that you are still alive. Joseph said to his brothers and the rest of his father's family, I will go and tell Pharaoh that you are here. I will say to Pharaoh, my brothers and the rest of my father's family have left the land of Canaan and came here to me. They are a family of shepherds. They have always kept sheep and cattle. They have brought all their animals and everything they own with them. When Pharaoh calls you, he will ask, What work will you do? You will tell him we are shepherds. All of our lives we have been shepherds, and our ancestors were shepherds before. Then Pharaoh will let you live in the land of Goshen. Egyptians don't like shepherds, so it's better that you stay in Goshen. Israel settles in Goshen. Joseph went into Pharaoh and said, My father and my brothers and all their families are here. They have all their animals and everything they own from the land of Canaan with them. They are now in the land of Goshen. Joseph chose 5 of his brothers to be with him before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to the brothers, What work do you do? The brothers and the Pharaoh said to Pharaoh, Sir, we are shepherds, just as our ancestors were shepherds before us. Then they said to Pharaoh, The famine is very bad in Canaan. There are no fields left with grass for our animals, so we have come to live in this land. We ask you to please let us live in Goshen. Pharaoh said to Joseph, Your father and your brothers have come to you. You can choose any place in Egypt for them to live. Give your father, your brothers, the best land. Let them live in the land of Goshen, and if they are skilled shepherds, they can also care for my cattle. Then Joseph called his father Jacob to come meet Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to him, How old are you? Jacob said to Pharaoh, I have had a short life with many troubles. I am only 130 years old. My father and his ancestors lived to be much older than I am. Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and left from his meeting with him. Joseph did what Pharaoh said and gave his father and brothers land in Egypt. It was the best land in Egypt and all the eastern part of the country around Ramses. Joseph also gave his father and brothers all their people the food they needed. Joseph buys the land for Pharaoh. The famine got worse. There was no food anywhere in the land. Egypt and Canaan became very poor because this is a bad time. The people on land bought more and more grain. Joseph saved the money and brought it to Pharaoh's house. After some time, the people in Egypt and Canaan had no money left. They sent all the money to buy the grain. So the people of Egypt went to Joseph and said, Please give us food. Our money is gone. If we don't eat, we will die. Well, you are watching. But Joseph answered, Give me your cattle, I will give you food. So the people used their cattle and horses and all their other animals to buy food. In that year Joseph gave them food and took their animals. But the next year the people had no animals and nothing to buy food with. So they went to Joseph and said, You know that we have no money left and all our animals belong to you, so we have nothing left. Only what you see, our bodies and our land. Surely we will die while you are watching. But if you give us food, we will give Pharaoh our land, and we will be his slaves. Give us seed so we can plant food, then we will live and not die, and the land will grow food for us again. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. All the people in Egypt sold Joseph their lands. They did this because they were hungry, and everywhere in Egypt all the people became Pharaoh's slaves. The only land Joseph didn't buy was the land that the priests owned. The priests didn't need to sell their land because Pharaoh paid them for their work, so they used their money to buy food to eat. Joseph said to the people, Now I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will give you seed. You can plant the fields. At harvest time, you must give 1/5 your crops to Pharaoh. You can keep 4/5 for yourself. You can use the seed to keep for food and planting the next year. Now you can feed your families and your children. The people said, You have saved our lives. We are happy to be slaves to Pharaoh. Joseph made a law at that time in the land that the law continues today. The law is that 1/5 of everything from the land goes to Pharaoh, who owns all the land. The only land he does not own is the land of the priests. Don't bury me in Egypt. Israel stayed in Egypt. He lived in the land of Goshen. His family grew and became very large. They became landowners there and did very well. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years, so he was 147 years old, the time when Israel knew he would soon die. So he called his son Joseph to him. He said, If you love me, put your hand under my leg and make a promise. Promise that you will do what I say and that you will be truthful with me. When I die, don't bury me in Egypt. Bury me in the place where my ancestors are buried. Carry me out of Egypt and bury me in our family grave. Joseph answered, I promise that I will do what you say. Then Jacob said, "Make me a vow," and Joseph vowed to him that he would do this. Then Israel laid his head back on the bed. Blessings from Miss Hannah and sometime later Joseph learned that his father was very sick, so he took his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and went to his father. Then Joseph arrived. Someone told Israel, "Your son Joseph has come to see you." Israel is very weak, but he tried hard to sit up in his bed. Then Israel said to Joseph, "God all powerful appeared to me in Luz in the land of Canaan. God blessed me there. He said to me, I will make you a great family. I will give you many children, and you will be a great people. You will be great people. Your family will own this land forever. Now you have two sons. These two sons were born here in the country of Egypt before I came. Your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, will be like my own sons. They will be like Reuben and Simon are to me. So these two boys will be my sons. They will share in everything I own. But if you have other sons, they will be your sons. But they will be also like sons to Ephraim and Manasseh. That is, in the future, they will share in everything that Ephraim and Manasseh own. On the trip from Padan Aram, Rachel died in the land of Canaan. This made me very sad. We were still traveling towards Ephrath. I buried her on the road to Ephrath. Ephrath is Bethlehem. Then Israel saw Joseph's sons. Israel said, "Who are these boys?" Joseph said to his father, "These are my sons. These are the boys God gave me." Israel said, "Bring your sons to me. I will bless them." Israel was old and his eyes were not good, so Joseph brought the boys closer to his father. Israel kissed and hugged the boys, and Israel said to Joseph, "I never thought I would see your face again, but look, God has let me see your face and your children." Then Joseph took the boys off Israel's lap, and they bowed down in front of his father. Joseph put Ephraim on his right side and Manasseh on his left side. So Ephraim was on Israel's left and Manasseh was on Israel's right side. But Israel crossed his hands and put his right hand on the head of the younger boy Ephraim, and then put his left hand on Manasseh. But even though Manasseh was the firstborn, and Israel blessed Joseph and said, "My ancestors Abraham and Isaac worshipped our God, and our God has led me all my life. He was the angel who saved me from all my troubles, and I pray that he will bless these boys, now that they will have my name, the name of our ancestors, Abraham and Isaac. I pray that they will grow to become great families and nations on the earth." Joseph saw that his father put his right hand on Ephraim's head. He didn't make Joseph didn't make Joseph happy. Joseph took his father's hand because he wanted to move it from Ephraim's head and put it on Manasseh's head. Joseph said to his father, "You have your right hand on the wrong boy. Manasseh is the firstborn. Put your hand on him." But his father refused and said, "I know, son, I know. Manasseh is the firstborn. He'll be great and will be the father of many people, but his younger brother will be greater than he is. The younger brother's family will be much larger." So Israel blessed them that day. He said, "The Israelites will use your names whenever they bless someone. They will say, 'My God, make you like Ephraim and Manasseh.'" In this way, Israel made Ephraim greater than Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Look, my time to die is almost here, but God will still be with you. He will lead you back to the land of your ancestors. I have given you one portion more than I gave your brothers. I gave you the land that I won from the Amorites. I used my sword and bowed down to take that land." Jacob blesses his sons. Then Jacob called his sons to him. He said, "My sons, come here to me. I will tell you what will happen in the future. Children of Jacob, gather around. Come listen to Israel, your father. Reuben. Reuben, my first son, you are my strength, my first proof of manhood. You were most honored and powerful of all my sons. But your passion was like a flood you couldn't control, so you will not remain my most honored son. You climbed into your father's bed, slept with one of his wives. You brought shame to my bed, and the bed you lay on. Simon and Levi. Simon and Levi are brothers. They are violent with their swords. I will not join their secret meetings. I will not take part in their evil plans. They have killed people out of anger and crippled animals for fun. Their anger is so cruel that it is a curse. They are too cruel when they are angry. They will not get their own land in the land of Jacob. They will spread throughout Israel. Judah, you are the brothers. Your brothers will praise you. You will defeat your enemies. Your brothers will bow down to you. Judah is like a young lion. My son, you are a lion standing over the animal it killed. The animal it killed. Like a lion, Judah lies down to rest, and no one is brave enough to disturb him. Men from Judah's family will be kings, the sign that many rules. No one leave his family before the real king comes. Then many people will obey and serve him. He ties his donkeys to the best grapevines. He washes his clothes in the best wine. His eyes are red from drinking wine. His teeth are white from drinking milk. Zebulun. Zebulun will live near the sea. His seacoast will be safe from places for ships. His seacoast will be placed for ships. His land will continue as far as the city of Sidon. Issachar is like a donkey that has worked too hard. He will lie down under his heavy load. He will see his land as pleasant, and his resting place is good, but he will agree to carry heavy loads, but he will agree to work as a slave. Dan will rule his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be like a snake at the side of the road. He will be like a dangerous snake lying near the path. That snake bites a horse's foot, and the rider falls to the ground. Lord, I am waiting for your salvation. Gad, a group of robbers will attack Gad, but Gad will chase them away. Asher's land will grow much good food. He will have food fit for a king. Naphtali is like a deer running free, and his words are beautiful. Joseph. Joseph is like a wild donkey, a young donkey by the spring, like colts grazing in a pasture. People attacked him and made life hard for him. Men with arrows became his enemies, but he won the fight. He is the mighty bow and his skillful arms. He gets the power from the mighty one of Jacob, from the shepherd, the rock of Israel, the God of your father who helps you. May God all-powerful bless you and give you blessings from sky above, from the deep below. May he give you blessings from the breast and womb. My parents had many good things happen to them, and I, your father, was blessed even more. Your brothers left you with nothing, but now I pile all my blessings onto you, high as a mountain. Benjamin. Benjamin is like a hungry wolf. In the morning he kills and eats, in the evening he shares what is left. These are the 12 families of Israel, and this is what the father said to him. He gave each son a blessing that was right for him. Then Israel gave them a command. He said, When I die, I want to be with my people. I want to be buried with my ancestors in the cave in the field of Ephron the Hittite. The cave is in the field of Malchapir near Marah in this land of Canaan. Abraham bought that field from the Ephron so that he could have a burying place. Abraham and his wife Sarah are buried in that cave. Isaac and his wife Rebekah are buried in that cave. I buried my wife Leah in that cave. That cave is in the field that was bought from the Hittites. After Jacob was finished talking to his sons, he lay down, put his feet back on the bed, and died. Jacob's funeral. When Israel died, Joseph was very sad. He hugged his father and cried over him and kissed him. Joseph commanded his servants to prepare his body. These servants were doctors. The doctors prepared Jacob's body to be buried. They prepared the body in a special way of the Egyptians. When the Egyptians prepared the body in this way, they waited 40 days before they buried the body. Then the Egyptians had a special time of sadness for Jacob. This time was 70 days. After the time of sadness was finished, Joseph spoke to Pharaoh's officers and said, Please tell this to Pharaoh. When my father was near death, I made a promise to him. I promised that I'd bury him in the cave of the land of Canaan. This is the cave that he prepared for himself. So please let me go and bury my father. Then I'll come back here to you. Pharaoh answered, "Keep your promise, go and bury your father." So Joseph went to bury his father. All the Pharaoh's officials, personal advisers, and the older leaders of Egypt went with Joseph. All the people in Joseph's family, his brothers, and all the people in the father's family went with him. Only the children and animals stayed in the land of Goshen, so that there was a large crowd of people with him. There was even a group of soldiers riding in chariots on some horses. They went to Goren Atad, east of Jordan River, where they had a long funeral service for Israel, which continued for 7 days. When the people who had lived in Canaan saw that the funeral service at Goren Atad, they said, "This is a time of great sorrow for those Egyptians." Now that place across the Jordan River is named Abel Mizraim. So Jacob's sons did what their father told them. They carried his body to Canaan and buried it in the cave at Malchapeth. This was the cave near Mamre in the field that Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite. Abraham bought that cave to use as a burial place. After Joseph buried his father, and he had he and everyone in the group went with him back to Egypt. The brothers are still afraid of Joseph. After Jacob died, Joseph's brothers were worried. They were afraid that Joseph would be still mad at them for what they had done years before. They said, "Maybe Joseph still hates us for what we did." So the brothers sent the message to Joseph. "Before your father died, he told us to give you a message. He said, 'Tell Joseph I beg him to please forgive his brothers for the bad things they did to him.' So now, Joseph, we beg you, please forgive us for the bad things we did to you. We are the servants of God, the God of your father." The message made Joseph very sad, and he cried. His brothers went to him and bowed down in front of him. They said, "We will be your servants." Then Joseph said to him, "Don't be afraid. I am not God. I have no right to punish you. It is true that you planned to do something bad to me, but really God was planning good things. God's plan was to use me to save the lives of many people, and this is what happened. So don't be afraid. I will take care of you and your children." So Joseph was said kind things to his brother and made them feel better. Joseph continued to live in Egypt with his father's family. He died when he was 110 years old. During Joseph's life, Ephraim had children and grandchildren, and his son Manasseh had a son named Micah. Joseph lived to see Micah's children. The death of Joseph. When Joseph was near death, he said to his brothers, "My time to die is almost here, but I know that God will take care of you and lead you out of this country. God will lead you to the land he promised to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Then Joseph asked his people to make a promise. Joseph said, "Promise me that you will carry my bones with you when God leads you out of Egypt." Joseph died in Egypt when he was 110 years old. Doctors prepared his body for the burial and put the body in a coffin in Egypt. Alright, that's the end of Genesis. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you could handle it, going through all the parts that I was struggling with. I hope you were blessed. I hope God uses it to help someone, gives them a message through it, despite all the wrong words said. Thank you, Father, for placing this in front of whoever needs to hear it. And next we will do a prophetic word, so watch out for that. If you feel led to sow into this ministry, link is in the description box. And we will see you next time. Bye.